Hello and welcome to class, dear students. It's another history class with Miss Joyce. In today's class, we are going to talk about the interrelations between centers of civilization in pre-colonial Nigeria. And under this topic, we are going to discuss the relationship between the Benin people and the Ife people. We are also going to talk about the relationship between the Kanem-Borno and the Hausa states. We will talk about the relationship between the Igbos and the Niger Delta city states. And the geographical location of what we have today as Nigeria had many groups of people who lived in it for many years before the arrival of the British colonialists. This period is regarded as pre-colonial because it existed before the colonial period. Among the many groups of people who lived during this period, some were able to organize large societies where many people lived together and they shared common organized cultures. These large societies were known as centers of civilization because they had great wealth, knowledge, and skills. Some of the centers of civilization were Ife, Benin, Kanem-Borno, the Hausa state, which comprises of Kano, Katsina, Gobe, and Zaria. We also have the Igbo and the Niger Delta city states. Some of these places were located close to one another and they related well. The relationship between these people were sometimes peaceful, but sometimes the relationship was not peaceful. And for the purpose of this lesson, we are going to talk about the centers of civilization as follows. Ife and Benin Kingdom. Ife is a Yoruba kingdom while Benin is an Edo kingdom, and they are located close to each other in the southern part of pre-colonial Nigeria, and they share many cultures. They see themselves as related because they have political and cultural relationships. Their artworks and crafts are also similar, while their royal houses are also related. According to tradition, the relationship between Ife and Benin Kingdom began many years ago. The Edo people were originally ruled by the Ogiso dynasty. The Ogiso, whose name meant king or the ruler of the sky, called their land Igodomigodo. The Ogiso ruled for a number of years until the 12th century, when there was a palace intrigue. The first queen, who was jealous and also barren, sentenced the crown prince to death, but the people that were meant to kill the crown prince set him free because they had mercy on him and they allowed him to escape. And the prince, according to tradition, changed his name from Ekeladeran to Izodua and found his way to Ile-Ife. But after a number of years and a consultation of the oracle, it was discovered that the prince was still alive. He was traced to Ile-Ife by the chiefs of Igodomigodo, and these chiefs from Benin begged him to return. But due to his age, Izodua, or Odudua as the Ife people now called him at that time, agreed to release his son Oramiyan to the chiefs from Igodomigodo. Now Oramiyan returned to Igodomigodo with the chiefs, and he was opposed by one of the palace chiefs, Ogiamen Iribo. Oramiyan lived at Usama in a palace built for him, but when he was living in that palace, he married a princess and they had a son. Now, after many years, he called the people and he abdicated from the throne, remarking that the country was a land of vexation, meaning Ile Ibinu. He declared that only a child that was born, trained, and educated in the land could rule over the people, and he caused his son to be made king over the people. Oramiyan returned to Ile-Ife This story most time does not go down well with a lot of Yoruba people who had disputed that Oduduwa is not a Kiladira and that Oduduwa came from God and it descended from the sky. Now, apart from being linked through the oral history and tradition, both Ife and Benin share some similarities in their areas of artwork and monarchical system. Both kingdoms have a central figure with a semi-divine status. Ife craftsmen were sent to Benin to train the craftsmen in brass and bronze casting. It is also noted that the monarch cannot rule alone in both Benin and in Ife. On a religious level, both kingdoms share similar beliefs in the pantheon of gods headed by a supreme being. The next we'll talk about is the Kanem-Borno and the Hausa state. Kanem-Borno is a Kanuri kingdom, while the Hausa states of Kano, Katsina, Gobi, and Zaria belong to the Hausa people. They are located close to one another in the northern part of pre-colonial Nigeria. They trade with one another and practice the same religion called the Islamic religion. These people existed independently as centers of culture and civilization, but over the years, a variety of relationships developed among them due to many factors. For example, the factor of migration brought Abu Yazid, also known as Bayajida, to Bornu. From Bornu, the Prince of Baghdad eventually found his way to Daura and he married the Queen of Daura, whose name was Daurama, and their union was blessed with more princes that saw the expansion of the Hausa kingship system all over the Hausa land. These states also related in trade and other commercial activities. Wars were also fought between the states, and these wars also had their consequences on the relationship between the Kanem Borno and the Hausa state. There were also social and religious factors that contributed to their relationship. For example, while Muslim pilgrims were going to Mecca, they trekked overland from Hausa land through Kanem-Borno onward to the Sudan, Egypt, and the Nile across to Saudi Arabia. And the pre-colonial states of Kanem-Borno and the Hausa state also engaged very much in cultivating produce which they traded among themselves. Next up, let's discuss the Igbo and the Niger Delta city-states. The Igbo people have a relationship with the Niger Delta city-states. Even before the presence of the Europeans along the Niger coast, they had traded with one another in articles such as fish, salt, palm oil, different artworks. And during the period of the European trade with the West African people along the coast, the Igbo people moved their articles of trade to the coastal cities of the Niger Delta for exchange with European goods. And there were times when the Niger Delta people acted as middlemen in trade between the Europeans and the Igbo people. They also share many common cultures and languages. Their political structures were similar and it was largely based on kinship, clan, and extended families. These societies were also governed through family heads rather than through absolute monarch.
With this, we have come to the end of our class for today. Until we meet again in the next class, goodbye and stay safe.